Huh?
Anything to say? Good job. Anyone else? Sure.
I guess what is sort of the value of connection with people?
Oh, with people. What's the value of connection with people? Okay. Yes.
Can we talk about stress?
Stress?
Yeah.
Okay. Stress. People. Yeah. I'm sorry? Confidence. To be stress-free and people-free. Okay. Confidence. Stress. The need to connect to people. Okay.
How do we be true?
Okay. Anyone else? With anything? No? Joyce? Okay. So confidence, stress, people. Well, I suppose you could just talk about stress because it's the easiest. Then we can talk about, I don't know, we'll just see how it goes. Do you know who Sadhguru is? He's this long bearded, turban wearing, sari wearing or kutram wearing Indian who lives in India. I'm sorry?
He does speeches for audiences.
Yes, yes. And he sits on a stage and people go to him and ask him questions. I don't know if I share this with you or not, but there is this, I think 18 or 19-year-old Indian kid. He is number 3 in the world, chess player. And so he went to him, this young kid, and asked this old man, he's about 60 or 70, how does one get rid of stress? So he goes on this sermon for a good 10, 20 minutes. The stress is madness. And when he is playing chess, good morning, Kendra, he should just live moment to moment, stress-free. I don't know if you play chess, and if you do, how good you are at playing chess. But if you happen to be top 10 in the world, you have this ability to imagine your opponent's moves and your own move. The next 20 moves that you have to make, or the next 20 moves that your opponent has to make. So inside your head lives this calculation. And it could go wrong, but for the most part, it's a very stressful place to be because you have to kind of calculate how things are going to unfold. Now, there is something also about human nature that's profoundly competitive. You want to win. You go to a party, you want to look good. Your boyfriend comes home and you're cooking this great dish and you want him to eat the food and say some compliments. You come to class, you write an essay and you want some feedback, and mostly about how great you are. And I suppose the short answer to your question is life is just stressful, period. And if you want to be without stress, drop out of life. Or just don't care about your position in life. Just be a hippie. Okay, so this month you have rent you pay, next month you don't, you just live in the car. No stress. You know, your boyfriend comes home, fine. He doesn't come home, fine. You get named in the class, fine. You don't get named in the class, that's fine. You have to be profoundly uncaring about your position in life to kind of just live a stress-free life. You sit in this classroom, and there are some people who speak eloquently, and you envy them. And then you go home, you read a couple of books, write a couple of thoughts down on paper, and then you revise your question for the class, you come to class, your hand goes up, and then you begin to fumble all over the place. That's stressful. You have a job, your customers must like you. That's stressful if you want to keep your job. And the point is you have stress coming to you from your interior, your own psychology, and you have stress from the social, political world, and there is no escape from it. But you can reduce your stress, anxiety, frustration, confusion by having a great amount of power in life. You take care of children. So last night you went trick-or-treating. And so when they got some candies, you'd say to them, out of every 2 candies that you take from someone, I'll take 1. Now that's going to be stressful for the kids because they like Milky Way as well as not so Milky Way, if there's a brand of that particular candy, right? And so the kid has to figure out which one he or she wants to give you. It doesn't bother you. You like both of them. And you're not under any stress, but the kid is. The kid is because first he has to give something that he or she doesn't want to give. They can't really fight you. You take care of them. And because you're in a position of power, it doesn't really impact you. And you don't really care about what's happening on the interior world of the child. Let him do what he wants to do. He wants to be angry. He wants to be mad. He wants to be sad. So be it. I want the candy. Now, you're always going to encounter, even if you have a good amount of power in life, you're always going to encounter a situation or a person where they make you feel incompetent and weak. And perhaps the best of these events is when you get really, really sick, and in sickness you realize you need people to take care of you. And worse, let's just say you're facing your own mortality, i.e. death. There can be nothing more stressful than that. Most of your dreams are unfulfilled, your life is just crap upon review. So while you're healthy, if one of the nice things about, I suppose, having parents or having elders in your life is they've been 20, they know how stressful 20 is, especially if you want to be validated by your peers. They also know the difficulties and complexities of life. And so when you go to them and you tell them you want to drop out of school, they look at you and say, listen, school sucks, I know that. But you also need money to survive in this world. And you're an immigrant. You come from some forsaken place and you land in this vulturous environment. You need money. You want to be a hippie in the way you think about life, you can, but there comes a point where life just stops you, where you realize making 25 bucks an hour is not enough to make a life going for too long. Rent is about $2,000, food is expensive, gas is expensive, school is expensive, entertaining yourself is expensive, and you need money. And God forbid if in the course of you just existing, you fall in love and then you get married. Diapers are expensive, formula is expensive, cribs are expensive, babysitters are expensive, getting a 2-bedroom is expensive, and then at $25 an hour is not going to be sufficient. Then you're going to go back in time and say, oh shucks, I should have listened to my parents. I should have maybe continued with school, got a master's or a PhD, or went into some tech field and made lots of money. So once you have an elder in your life who can guide you appropriately, then that reduces your stress to a great deal. If on the other hand, you just want to wing it and just figure things out on your own, then. But point is, stress is part of life. You see other people, you want what they have, good morning, Abi. And that's stressful. You probably are carrying 12 units because you're an immigrant and need to be legal in this country. That creates a good amount of struggle. You also have to babysit, but no one needs to know or can know that you're actually making money, so it has to be under the table. So there's a good amount of faith and trust that's involved between you and the person you're working for. There's also pleasing your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your parents, God, who the hell knows, and that's a lot of stress. Unless you just has been turned into a savage, a beast. You don't have to answer to anyone, you're not connected to anyone, you have zero relationship with people, and if you do, they're mostly surface relationship, casual. You don't really care for who they are, what they think of you. Once in a while, you're just stressed because you're lonely and pathetic. And hopefully you can entertain yourself and distract yourself from the reality of your life, and that's it. Good luck. I mean, imagine having your mother-in-law coming to visit you. Worse yet, staying with you. That's stressful. Needing other people. I have a friend. She's a little older now, getting close to 50. Remember, you said need. Connection. Well, what kind of a connection? It's like a couple of words in a text, a phone call that's about a minute.
All of the above.
Well, is it like a minute? Well, that's not a connection.
Something.
That's like a pit stop. Well, it really, for the most part, depends on what it is that you need, or what it is that you want from them, or what it is you want for yourself. If, for example, forgive me for always going back to these ridiculous examples, but I'm a primitive man, incompetent in many ways, so these are just... If you come to my office and say, Amir, I'm really interested in philosophy, I will just say, the schedule is out, go knock yourself out. That's the only connection I'm looking to create with you. If on the other hand you would say, Amir, I'd like to come to the office on a regular basis and sit and talk. Well, you may want that connection, I don't. So in regards to connection, it's two ways. What do you want, what do you need? Is the other person going to go in a way that pleases you as well? Because if the answer from the other person is a no, then there is no connection. Connecting to anything depends on what you need, the intensity of that need. If you're perfectly fine, and this is something that usually happens to people, and forgive me for doing it this way, but you're young, you're naive, you lack experience, you're pathetic, you want a companion. You have this deep need for connection. Then you get connected to someone. And then you have this deep connection. Need for independence. You don't want to be with anyone. And so there is this yo-yo syndrome in the human condition in regards to at least relationship with people, that you find that you're getting up in age, you're single, you want to get married. So you go out there and you find some loser, very much like you. And so two losers come together, and forgive me for putting it this way, but it's true. So two losers come together, they exchange numbers, they text, they meet somewhere, they have coffee and then dinner. Let's just say Zachary's, deep dish, spinach, mushroom, artichoke, pesto. And their conversation blossoms and they see each other again and again and again, and they're having a great time. And they're having a great time because things are just on the surface. No one really asks. So tell me about your history. Why at the age of like 40, you're just like this? Those are questions you don't really ask. So you tell them how good they are and they tell you how great you are. And then eventually you guys move in. And God forbid you get married. And God forbid you have children. Now, initially, all of the things you were doing were revolving around fantasies. Once in a while you walk around the lake, you see two people holding hands, they're all lovey-dovey, and you say, yes, that is what I want. But you have no idea, like 10 minutes prior, they were just having this awful argument. We don't see any of that. We just see the surface, and things are good. So, you realize in the relationship you're losing who you are if you ever wear something. And then you realize the moment you have children, they take every ounce of resources you have, physical, emotional, intellectual, time, age, your life. And then at a certain point, and these are just whispers that come to you once in a while, you say, man, why weren't there anyone in my life to tell me how destructive relationships are? Now, granted, there are people out there who have great relationships, but I think for the most part, the first maybe 6 months of your relationship is really, really good, hopefully. And the last maybe 5-6 years of your life when you're really, really sick and you need someone to take care of you, or you're just, both of you are just old and you just need to like walk together with a cane and a wheelchair, So in between, all you have is struggle and conflict and compromise. Do you need connection? Absolutely. The more self-sufficient, the more confident you are in who you are and what you're doing, if you like your profession, if you like where you are in life, you're going to have connection on a very, very casual basis. You're not going to get emotionally entangled with anyone because, let's just say you're a tattoo artist or you're a pianist. If you have found your love, which is playing the piano for 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 hours, the truth is you have found your companion. You're married to the piano. All the other people in your life are just footnotes, just in case you make a connection with another human being and they betray you or they fall short. You express your laments by playing the piano. And just in case they come home and you're extremely happy, well, you express your joy, hopefully, on the piano. So you have really found your companion. And even if you are connected to other people, you don't really take them as seriously. It also depends, anyways, so yeah. But you need people. Gossip is good, really. When the Buddha, for example, says right speech, he didn't really clarify. And it's really his fault. He was just stupid. Forgive me for the Buddhists in this room. You're a Buddhist? Thank God. Now, first of all, Buddha was a guy who left everyone and everything. Apparently, he had no need for anyone or anything. He had specific questions. He tried to get answers to those questions from other people, but he found them to be completely incompetent. And once you get to the big questions of life, you'll come to realize what most people have, you don't really need. It's just trash what people have. And then once you have these huge questions living inside you, all you want to talk about are the big questions because they are the cause of your pain. They are the cause of your unrest. They are the cause of your perplexity, your confusion, your anger, your frustration, your stress. Most people are just stressed because they can't pay rent. It's a good thing to stress about. Hopefully it'll motivate you to get a better job, to make more money and to pay. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Why are you growing a beard? Yeah, you need to shave. Please. You know, my grandmother used to say, youth stays with you for one day. Old age, many, 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 many years. You're young, and you have a nice looking face. You should shave and just show it off to people. Like grab them when you're walking lakeshore. Look at my face, see how pretty I am. Because when you get old, I'm just joking. So, for most of us regular folks, you need to gossip because life is stressful. You need to find someone to, grab them and say, listen, I have this horrible class, Mondays and Wednesdays from 9:30 to 10:45. Can someone please help me? This guy's crazy. Or whatever, You can only contain so much emotion within. Eventually you need to just come out and say something to someone, So most of our lives revolves around gossip, and rightly so. It removes stress. It's kind of like sex. You don't have sex sometimes because you love your companion. You just had a bad day. You just want some release. And your shoulder hurts, so you can't really do a punching bag. So you just do something different. And if I was to go back to something I always say, you need to connect to people who are, connect to a Gandhi, connect to a Malcolm X, connect to a Socrates. Those are good connections, and you need those connections. Without them, you won't survive. Granted, America is a trashy culture. With social media, you have a lot of trashy people out there trying to kind of deceive you into making a connection with them. So you have to be careful who you want to connect with. And for the most part, it's a shot in the dark. Get a dog. Get two then. That's what Diogenes did. He was called Diogenes the dog. For those of you who may not know, he's the founder of the Cynic school, contemporary of Plato. He had no need for people. He had no need for God. I suppose his God was his ideas and his thinking, his ability to think well, very clearly, soberly. And he had a dog. He said, if I shout at my son, he didn't have a son, I don't think. He'd probably get mad and be in therapy for the rest of his life. If I tell my wife something mean, she probably won't speak to me for days. If I offend someone in the streets, they'll probably take me to court and I'll be executed. But the dog, I can ring the bell 5,000 times, he'll walk towards me for food, and then I will just laugh, and the dog will go away. And then you would think that if I ring the bell again, he won't come to my way, but he does. You can't find anyone or anything more faithful than a dog. They're like Yahweh, they're always there. So, yeah.
Why does American society find disgust with men who try to make a deep connection with other men, unless it's in war or sports?
Have you ever been to the Middle East? We hold hands, men. We hold hands, we put our arms around their shoulders, we kiss on the cheek. That's as far as we go.
Yeah.
Do we go further? We do? We go even further. I remember when I lived in Davis, we had roommates, and we were very close, all Persian. We used to take showers together, fully clothed, of course. It's the culture. I don't really know. It's a great question. I'm not equipped to answer it. Americans just have a lot of problems with a lot of things. And it's difficult to kind of figure out why and how, where and who. Just connect to the right people. Anyone else? Good then. Oh, Kendra, yes. Really? Okay. Listen, if there are no questions, it's okay. We can go home. I don't really mind. Allahu Akbar. I was hoping to go home. Go ahead.
Are we going to discuss confidence?
Oh, confidence. America is such a crappy culture. It encourages the most incompetent to be confident, to self-love. You know, I have like students. I love myself. And the more you get to know them, you realize how broken they really are. And then you wonder, how can they love themselves so much? I mean, they're a disaster. You know, there is this component called confidence that is founded on simply assumptions and self-deception. Nothing wrong with that. I think in this day and age, anything that can make you just feel slightly happy and joyous and comfortable for even a nanosecond, fine. You know, stick your head in the sand and imagine that, you know, the world is a nice place. So you have someone who is confident about who and what they are, but they haven't really accomplished anything. They're not really good at anything. They just walk around, you know, aimlessly, but they're confident eventually they're going to get somewhere. And then you have a carpenter, for example, who's been doing his craft for 20 years. And he's made a lot of mistakes, and he's wasted a lot of money, and he's destroyed a lot of tools, and he's been fired from a lot of job sites. And after 10, 15 years, he's become really, really proficient. He knows exactly what he's doing and how he needs to cut and what he needs to do. And you realize, well, you're dealing with two different kinds of confidence. Someone who enjoys a certain craft, they assume that they know what this craft is all about. And then the craft put them to test, shamed them. They didn't give up. They went after it over and over and over again for the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years. Until they knew a good amount they had a good amount of knowledge about their craft, and then they could apply that knowledge in a very practical, pragmatic way. Now that is a worthy person to hang out with if you want to learn carpentry, for example. Versus someone who's seen a couple of videos, you know, on YouTube, but he's never really seen a 2x4, he's never seen a saw, he doesn't even know what a saw is. But, you know, like all of us in this class, do you know much about, for example, the history of the Middle East? No. Do you know much about the history of Israel? No. Do you know much about the history of Palestine? No. But you have a big mouth, and the fact that you don't know anything about anything, that doesn't keep you from exercising enough humility so that your mouth can be shut. You raise your hand and you say, oh, well, you know, Palestinians A, B, C, D, or Jews E, F, G, H. And you're just talking rubbish. And yet you're so confident, you know, that what you're saying is actually true. When in fact you have zero knowledge about history, you are an American, you don't like to read, you know, you take your news from Fox or MSNBC, whatever the case may be. And so it's after a while it becomes really difficult for people out there to discern, you know, is Jordan Peterson really good? You know, is Sadhguru really good? So you have all these people who are coming on the stage telling the rest of us that they know a thing or two about life, the complexities of life, how to be stress-free. And then you kind of just gravitate towards one or the other emotionally. And by the time you figure out things, you know, a few years have passed, You've been betrayed by these people, and then you end up nowhere. Now, confidence. When you're young, the only confidence you should have is you're a good student of life. Pay attention, read, observe, take notes, and then play with all the insights and experiences life offers you. Take them somewhere, chew on them, and then when you're 40, 50, 60, make honey. That's the only thing you should be confident about, being a good student. But you can be a good student because all of us are biased. And we're biased because history makes us biased. Your parents, social conditioning, where you live, where you're born, your temperament. So someone needs to come into your life and beat you up. Isn't that true, Abi? So there you have it. This is such an easy class today. Or maybe I'm just in a bad mood. Anyone else?
We never got to discuss the horizontal versus vertical. And we're not versus, but going from vertical back to horizontal. And since we did that,
Good. It's something we talked about in class yesterday. I won't tell it to you in full, but so in the Gospel of Matthew and Luke, there are 3 temptations given to Jesus by Satan. The first has to do with turning stones into bread. And I suppose you could define bread as food, shelter, and clothing. To have all of this, you need money. Money gives you power, power gives you security. You need this. And anyone who says you don't need any of this, they're just idiots. So this is the initial pillar of life. Whoever you are, whatever you are, is built on food, shelter, and clothing. Okay. This is the horizontal line. And for those of you who pay attention to the first temptation, and remember what temptation is. Temptation is you're minding your own business. For the most part, life is okay. And you get a piece of advertisement. And then a conflict begins to happen inside you. You know, I'm doing fine, but all of a sudden there is also this. It's like you're having Zachary's pizza. You've ordered the pizza, but you have a family coming in. Their kid hates pizza, but they bought him some Indian food. Okay. You look at the box and it's chicken tikka masala, rice and garlic bread, and some mixed vegetables. And all of a sudden you say, maybe we should go there, you know, and have some Indian food instead of Zachary's. That is what a temptation is. And so what you have is Jesus is a man who is confident, who is self-sufficient. And Jesus comes down to offer him a piece of advertisement. Now, what usually happens for most of us, and remember, the only way that you will never, ever, 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 ever be tempted by a piece of advertisement, you really have to like where you are. And you really have to like who you are. We had a president here some years ago. His name was Frank Chong. In 2007, I got a different job at a different school, and so I went to him and said, I'm leaving. He says, I will make you dean, where you can have power over like 5 or 6 or 10 departments, psychology, history, this and that, and your pay will go up by like 50,000. I've never enjoyed being in an administrative position. It's awful. The things they talk about is mind-numbing. It just kills you from the inside. The things you have to think about and talk about, the people you have to encounter. And this came to me after many years of being in the classroom. So I've already seen myself in the classroom, and I liked myself in the classroom. Okay? So it didn't matter how much money he would offer me. It didn't matter what sort of a position he would offer me. I would just say no, period. So remember, if you don't know who you are, where you are, and if you don't like who you are and where you are, you will always be tempted. Always. There is another thing you need to understand. You have temptations on a small scale, you have temptations on a big scale. A small scale is you have to take an elective to graduate. It's either philosophy or history. You come to class, you realize it's me, you say yuck. You drop the class, you take history. If on the other hand, you're in love with Socrates and you just want to do philosophy, that's the thing you want to do for the rest of your life, which means that you're just going to take philosophy and you're not interested in any other class. Okay? The only thing you're looking for is, will this guy inspire me? Is he going to be innovative, creative? Okay, that's the only thing. So on a small scale, and in the little world that you and I live, temptations are there all the time. And are we going to fall victim to them? Absolutely. Okay. If you have big questions, like you get to a place where you say, who am I? When you're at the age of 40 or 50, you're not going to let a man or a woman or a piece of advertisement telling you who you are. You're not going to be sold a piece of advertisement. You've been there, you've done that, now you're looking for things from within, okay? So when we talk about Jesus being tempted, you're talking about a man who has big questions, okay? So the sort of temptation now Satan throws at him is, look at people out there. I mean, look at you guys.